The 1970s gave us disco, shag carpets, and some of the most baffling restaurant failures in history. While some restaurants from that era have become cherished memories, others have faded into obscurity for good reason. These places weren't just bad, they were culinary crimes. Today, we're counting down 10 disastrous 70s restaurants so ridiculous, you'll wonder how they ever got funding. Ever wondered what would happen if you crossed Marlon Brando with mozzarella sticks? Enter Godfather's Pizza, the restaurant that proved even the mafia can't make bad food profitable. This chain tried to ride the Godfather hype, promising a pizza you can't refuse. Godfathers launched in 1973 during the mafia movie craze, but its real crime was the pizza. Their whole brand leaned hard into mafia tropes with red checkered tablecloths, dim lighting, and ads that made you wonder if dinner came with a side of extortion. Too bad their pizza had all the authenticity of a plastic gun. The crust was so thick you could have used it as a doorstop. The sauce? Sweeter than a Sopranos revenge plot. And the cheese? Well, let's just say it had the same texture as a melted shower cap. At one point, they were the 5th largest pizza chain in the US, but their quality control went missing fast. Franchises were sold rapidly with little oversight, leading to wildly inconsistent food. Some stores served undercooked dough, others piled on so much grease it could have powered a Cadillac. With its rapid expansion, the chain struggled with consistency and overextended itself. By the late 80s, many franchises jumped ship or shut down altogether. Ironically, despite family branding, their internal operations were anything but harmonious, with frequent legal disputes among franchisees and management. At the start of the 90s, Godfathers was mostly gone, unable to compete with more established pizza chains, though a few stubborn locations cling to life. Hawaiian Punch Snack Bar was a restaurant entirely based on fruit punch. Yes, it was a real thing, and yes, it was as terrible as it sounds. It was practically a punch cold. The menu was basically school cafeteria food drowned in syrup. Every item on the menu was infused with Hawaiian Punch. Imagine a burger with a side of Hawaiian Punch, or fries dipped in Hawaiian Punch. It was like they dared customers to get diabetes. From punch glazed chicken to punch flavored desserts, the concept was as overwhelming as it sounds. Unsurprisingly, the novelty wore off quickly and the chain fizzled out. One former employee recalled the kitchen as a sticky hellscape, where every surface had a permanent sugar crust. Health inspectors weren't fans either. Some branches reportedly failed inspections due to syrup buildup attracting ants. By the early 80s, the only thing left was the mascot's creepy grin, haunting kids' nightmares forever. Ponderosa Steakhouse tried to bring the Wild West to its dining experience. With rusty decor and hearty meals, it was a hit in its early days. However, as competition grew and management changed, quality declined. By the mid-70s, the chain could no longer keep its promise of all-you-can-eat Cowboy Charm. What it delivered became all-you-can-eat regret. They went from hand-cut steaks to mystery meat that even a cowboy wouldn't lasso. The steaks had the tenderness of a boot sole, and their infamous salad bar was especially suspect. It was a petri dish of questionable, unrefrigerated items. But hey, at least the decor was aggressively brown, like eating inside a saddle. Customer complaints about food poisoning and undercooked meat became common. Unable to keep up with evolving dining trends, Ponderosa limped into the 2000s, but the 70s were its true golden age of sadness. Howard Johnson's was the king of roadside dining, until it became the king of, why is my food orange? Once a staple of American highways, Howard Johnson's offered travelers a reliable place to rest and dine. But after the oil crisis, fewer people traveled, competition increased, and Hojos didn't adapt. Worse, their once-loved clam strips and fried fish platters began to look increasingly like sponges. Their decline was sealed when franchising led to massive inconsistency. Some locations stayed decent, while others just couldn't keep on. Even their 28 flavors couldn't save them. Hojo's quickly became a chain of depressing orange roofs. By the late 90s, people finally realized highway food didn't have to taste like despair. and the Howard Johnson's hype faded. By the 2000s, only a handful remained, and the last restaurant closed in 2022. With its barn-shaped buildings and catchy jingles, Red Barn stood out in the fast food landscape, but not in a good way. The food was a tragedy. Red Barn was like if McDonald's hired a farmer as CEO. Their signature Big Barney burger was less big and more vaguely meat-like. And don't get us started on the salad bar, which was just shredded lettuce next to a bucket of ranch. What really ruined them was branding schizophrenia. Red Barn tried using unique branding to save its horrible menu, but failed woefully. Some locations were family diners, others were chicken-focused chains, and all were shaped like a literal barn. Kids loved the novelty, but adults were just baffled. When new owners took over in the late 70s, they cut corners, changing the Big Barney burger recipe and reusing oil until it tasted like it came from a tractor. Add lawsuits over zoning to the recipe, and the chain folded by the early 80s. By the early 90s, most locations had closed or rebranded. Delights of America had a soul made of pure 70s delusion. Their big idea? They offered a healthier fast food alternative, focusing on low-calorie options like leaner burgers and yogurt-based shakes. Unfortunately, their health food tasted like cardboard soaked in sadness, and their reliance on high food tech costs made profitability elusive. The burgers had the texture of wet newspaper, and the light fries were just regular fries, but fewer. Customers constantly complained that the taste was bland. In an era of indulgence, it was no shock that the idea didn't catch on. Despite Wall Street hype, it filed for bankruptcy after only a few years of operation. By 1986, Delights was gone, proving that sometimes people just want real fries. Ground Round combined dining with entertainment, featuring peanuts on the floor and silent movies on the walls. However, that was the whole concept. The food was mediocre, the decor was early Denny's, and the vibe was, we gave up. Initially popular, the concept grew stale over time. Frequent ownership changes and outdated themes definitely did not help. Believe it or not, some Ground Round locations were so underfunded by the early 2000s that employees found out they were unemployed, while customers were still eating. Yep, mid-meal, popcorn on the floors and cartoons on silent couldn't save it. Turns out, nostalgia doesn't pay the bills when management's a mess. Somehow, it limped into the late 2000s before finally admitting defeat. York's Steakhouse was where flavor went to die. They claimed to offer cafeteria-style dining with a focus on affordability. What they actually served was steak that was more gristle than meat, served in a cafeteria line like a sad school lunch. The only thing tougher than the meat was the realization that you paid for this. The total lack of ambiance and evolving dining preferences caused its popularity to wane. Owned by General Mills, yes, the cereal people, they overexpanded into dying malls. Eventually, the only thing rarer than their steaks was finding one of their restaurants open. By the late 80s, most locations had closed. Clancy's tried to blend Irish pub vibes with American dining, offering a unique fusion experience. But it was Irish in the same way Lucky Charms are pure fiction. The food was bland, the decor was plastic shamrocks, and the vibe felt like it peaked before disco even did. Despite its efforts, the concept didn't resonate widely. Clancy's didn't have any racing fans. The small-town charm didn't scale. Limited locations and lack of brand recognition led to its quiet exit from the dining scene. This one wins the "What Were They Thinking?" award. Houlihan's offered tropical dishes in a festive setting. They promised a Hawaiian escape, bringing Polynesian flair to the mainland. But behind the tiki masks was a growing backlash. People started realizing these island vibes were more cultural caricature than celebration. Paradise, it was not. Their salad bar was served from an actual bathtub. Let that sink in. Between the questionable hygiene and the tropical drinks that tasted like cough syrup, it's a miracle this place lasted a week. The 70s were definitely a time of experimentation in the restaurant industry. If you ever ate at any of these establishments, share your memories in the comments below. Which of these 70s disasters would you actually eat at? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more.